Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Prepare for IHS Events, a new series that we are launching to provide useful information about upcoming IHS events trips. And so for this episode, we will be talking about the Mexico City trip scheduled for November 3rd through 8th, 2025. My name is Justin Eldracher. I am your host for today's episode, and I am joined by Father Oscar Saavedra, a Mexican-born priest who went through Most Holy Trinity Seminary in formerly Brooksville under Bishop Sanborn, and is now pastor of Our Lady Queen of Martyrs Church in Fraser, Michigan. Welcome to the show, Father.
Justin, thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to show you a little image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. That first time, I have other opportunities, but I just found this image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's a little holy card, like those that you can keep it in your missal.
Oh, yeah.
It says in Spanish, Madre, quiero aprender a mostrarte a los demás. That means that it's like a little prayer to Our Lady of Guadalupe that I would like to learn to show her to everyone else. And this is very nice. So it's the image, an antique image of Our Lady of Guadalupe with the Holy Trinity on top of the Our Lady as a coronation to Our Lady. So this opportunity for me to show the wonders of Our Lady of Guadalupe to everyone else. Thank you very much for the opportunity for this little interview about our Mexico trip.
Well, you're very welcome, Father. As you can see, Father, as a Mexican, is very devoted to Our Lady of Guadalupe. And so, Father, as a good place to start, could you give us a bit of a summary, you can be as brief as you'd like, of Our Lady of Guadalupe? I mean, I know most people are familiar with her image, but most people probably don't know too much about the actual apparition and the events surrounding it. So could you start us there, please?
Yes. Well, there is another question that I saw before. It is about what Catholics think of Mexico. When you hear the word Mexico, what do they think about it? Well, I will say that it all depends of your background or even your environment of life. Depends where you live. Depends you're a poor person, you're a middle class or high class. When people hear the word of Mexico, it is different. So they have different thoughts when they think about Mexico. I will believe that most people will say they will think about it, that there is about Mexico is fun, food, and football. Like,
football being soccer.
Soccer, yes. Yeah, I was about to say that, soccer. So fun is, I heard people, while I travel, people ask me where I am from, and I say Mexico. Oh, it's a lot of fun in Mexico because of the music, the mariachi, and the things that could be done in Mexico as vacation time. Yeah. Food, of course, tacos and mole. There is some persons that love the mole from Mexico. It will take a little time to talk about the mole, but we will not talk about mole this time. And soccer, Mexico is very tied to the sport of soccer, football, as they call it in England. Other people will think about travel. When they hear about Mexico, they will just think about travel. Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum, Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta, all of these resorts that are there. I just heard that for the month of July, there will be 800 people coming to Cancun. So the occupancy there for hotels is almost to the 90%. So other people will want to see scenery in Mexico, all these vacations, places that you can go sightseeing. But of course, other people with more money, I guess, I heard people who have more money, have more education, they will think about the history of Mexico. They will want to explore the places where the Aztecs were, the Mayas, and the antique people there. Especially, people will think about the Apocalypto, the movie that Mel Gibson...
I'm not familiar with that one.
Mel Gibson put... for everyone to see. It's not that very good movie, but it is interesting to see for those who are thinking about Mexico. So people like to know about the conquest of Mexico by Hernan Cortés and the Spaniards. They would like to learn about the colonial times, how Spain came and introduced the system from Spain and the Catholic culture. So when you think about Mexico, it is mostly three things about the Aztecs, the colonial time, and the Mexicans. As nowadays you can see them. So there is even in Mexico City a square plaza. We call it the Plaza de las Tres Culturas, the three cultures plaza or square plaza, where you can see the antique Aztecs, there's the pyramids. Colonial times, there is a church dedicated to Saint James the Greater, Santo Santiago, as the Spaniards call him, and also the university, the modern Mexico, right there in one square plaza. It's very interesting. Now, if you will talk about the devout Catholics, of course, they will right away think about Our Lady Guadalupe and to visit the shrine. Most of the times, very devout Catholics will say, oh, I had been at Our Lady Guadalupe and they had visited the shrine. There is a lady that I met, rest in peace. Her name, I believe, is Betty Ritter or something in Cincinnati. She told me that she was actually at the coronation of Our Lady Guadalupe, one of those years that they did a coronation of Our Lady Guadalupe. She even showed me a part of a flower, the Rosa de Castilla, a rose, the flower was just from Mexico. She got it put in her book and she showed me that.
Right, because Bishop Dolan went to Mexico several times, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He actually had an apostolate in Mexico and he was going to many places in Mexico.
Right.
Then about Our Lady Guadalupe, it is the important thing. If you're a devout Catholic, yes, you will think to go visit Our Lady of Guadalupe and her shrine.
Have you been there before yourself, Father?
Yes, I've been 3 times.
Oh, okay.
And I spent a whole day there both times, and because there is a lot to see. There is the main church. There is a small church that is on top of the hill, and there is a little rounded church is called El Pocito, where it's actually a place to baptize children. That was built by the Spaniards.
Can you take us back in time a little bit to the actual apparition? Do you know what year that was in? It was the early 1500s, right?
Yes, the apparition was, let us call it a miracle.
True.
It's nice to hear apparition, but it is a miracle. It was in 1531, the year 1531. We have to see that happened 10 years after the conquest of Mexico.
Okay.
Exactly, right. 10 years and about 4 months. Because the conquest of Mexico ended or took place finally when all the Indians or the Aztecs there in Mexico City submitted to the crown of Spain through Cortés. It was in 1521, August 13.
I remember hearing about some 500-year anniversaries of the Mexican conquest.
Yes, that took place, and is why I went to Spain to kind of celebrate that conquest of Mexico. I spent a great deal of time in Spain visiting places related to the conquest of Mexico. Like the Museum of the Americas, where they have all these pictures of the Mexicans. So how was the process of the conquest through the time, so colonial times actually. So this miracle of Our Lady took place 10 years after the conquest of Mexico. At that time there was no more war, no more conflict between Aztecs and the Spaniards. This was December 9, 1531. There were actually 5 apparitions, they were miraculously. So this was Our Lady coming to visit first time Mexico. She was to come to Juan Diego. Juan Diego was a convert to the Catholic faith, to our great Catholic faith, and it was done by the Spaniards, by the example that the Spaniards gave. So on the Hernan Cortez, he had two priests with him, and they actually started giving catechism to the Indians or to the Aztecs after the conquest.
Were there many converts to the faith at this time in Mexico, or were they kind of few and far between?
As I said, Juan Diego was a convert. He was already Catholic, although he was still taking catechism classes. So he was already convert, and if you probably heard about, so I will talk about that. There was already a bishop in Mexico City.
Okay.
So that means that they were
pretty
Catholics.
well established.
Were established. Yeah. Let us see, Our Lady is the Queen of Heaven. So she will not come to convert people. As usual, the lady will not show front, so right. She will come later. Our Lady came 10 years later, and the object of Our Lady to come is to show her mercy, to be an intercessor to these Indians, to help them, to protect them, as we are very weak. And so she came to show her mercy and her love, and to show that she was the mother of our Lord Jesus Christ, to whom they had converted to. And Juan Diego was already converted. He actually was in his way to Tlatelolco. There was a church dedicated to Santiago, so Santo Santiago, to St. James the Great. He was taking a nice walk to go from his house to Mexico City. He lived in Cuautitlan, so he says like 3 leagues. I don't know what is real conversion. I took I took a time to check. It's like 12 miles walk or something to go to mass. But I checked different sources about the league, how long it takes, how long it was the measurement. But he definitely walked a long way to go to mass. So this was a Saturday. He was a devout man, and in the way to the church in Tlatelolco, which is, as I said, is part of the church that is in the Plaza of the Three Cultures. So it's very visible. Right. If you go to Mexico City, you will not miss this one because it's so central there, and it's a beautiful old church. And as he was in his way, Our Lady appeared to him for first time in this mountain or hill, actually, that was what is called the Tepeyac. It's a small hill. It is kind of in a little valley because it was surrounded by other bigger mountains. Also next to is the lake where the Mexico City was founded, the city of Tenochtitlan. That was how the Indians called it. And he had to go through this little hill. Tepeyac is the name of the hill. And as he was walking by, he started listening. He heard a beautiful music, heavenly music, that at some point he got scared. He was wondering where this music come from. And besides that, he was scared at the same time he was attracted to. Sure. So he turned around to see where this sound was coming from. And he was so attracted that he kept looking. And as he was looking, he felt to himself very pleasant, peaceful, and well, sometimes this music is good for a siesta, but he was not looking to take a siesta. He was looking, where is this sound come? He never heard it before.
Very soothing.
Soothing. Actually, it says this writer that I checked in a little book that I have, there was birds, like kind of singing to each other, kind of in a choir way. Okay. And once he found the source of this music, he saw a cloud, a nice bright cloud, almost probably like we would understand that of the transfiguration of our Lord at the mountain. Okay. And then he saw this bright light. Also, he saw a rainbow, and he kind of fell into an ecstasy. His heart was feeling so much joy that he was wondering what was going on.
Right.
And then he finally saw Our Lady. Our Lady called him, "Come here, come closer." And of course, he was attracted to the music and to the scene, to the visual that he never saw before. And then he saw the beautiful lady surrounded by this cloud, and at her feet was the moon. and behind her was the sun, and with so many stars around her on her mantle. And Our Lady talked to him in Nahuatl. It was the Mexican language or dialect, but it was a language because most Mexicans thought that Nahuatl was the name of this language. And Our Lady told him, my son. She actually called him by his first name that he just received a baptism, Juan Diego. She told him, my son Juan Diego, whom I love tenderly. I love you as my little one and fragile son. Of course, when he heard that, Juan Diego went into a peaceful mood to be able to listen to her, not just to be scared, for having seen this supernatural scene he never saw before. And Our Lady asked him, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to Mass. I'm going to Mass to the temple the priests and the clergy built for us to go to Mass here in Mexico City, which is actually Tlatelolco, Santo Santiago, the St. James Church. This was the first time that Our Lady, with kind of many other words, she said that she was asking him to go and visit the church where the bishop is, to ask him to build a church for her there, to build a shrine for Our Lady. And then Juan Diego, now very convinced by the scene and by the words of Our Lady, as an Indian, and very gentle, humble man, he said, I'm in my way. I'm going to go do that for you.
Okay.
And the bishop is Juan de Zumarraga, was a bishop of Mexico City. And then he went there. Of course, when he went to the door, and happens that the relatives of kinships of the bishop were outside, and Juan Diego, as a convert, he was wearing that cloth, white, so like short pants and almost like a like linen thing, clothing, and
like a peasant.
Right. And then when the family of the bishop, who was from Spain, all of them were from Spain. They saw him. They would not let him talk to the bishop.
Oh, right.
If you go any place where a bishop resides, so you knock at the door and you say, I want to see the bishop. Whoever is at the door, they will laugh at you and then come later, make an appointment, and things like that. So he was rejected. They didn't want to listen to him, but he insisted, and he waited so much that actually they let him talk to the bishop. And he told to the bishop, I'm coming from the Mother of God, with an announcement from the Mother of God.
Wow. Imagine
the bishop's face, and after he listened to this, and he didn't believe it at all. He told him, he actually was very gentle, very nice, the bishop, as they should be. He listened to him, but he told him, could you please come back tomorrow or another day? And Juan Diego, or a little bit kind of depressed, because his request was not listened or attend. The bishop didn't care for him, we could say. So he went back to Our Lady, who appeared to him again, and this was December 10. So he went back to Our Lady. Our Lady talked to him what happened. He wanted to hear from him, and the bishop told me that to come back another day and to make sure who was I coming from, who was the messenger. Right. Because he was an Indian, a peasant, he just converted to the faith, and of course he will have this kind of message because he knew nothing about Our Lady. And these are Spaniards. They were very knowledgeable about Our Lady, and they would not listen to him because he was just a peasant.
Kind of like Saint Bernadette and not knowing what the Immaculate Conception was.
Yes. And then Our Lady told him, just go again and tell him I'm the Mother of God, and I'm the Mother of the Creator of the world, and our Lord Jesus Christ, and she assured him to go back. So Juan Diego went back again, and told the bishop. And the bishop now kind of let him come in sooner than before.
Okay.
But this time he said, well, go back to the ladies that sent you and get me a proof, get me a sign that she sent you, and that what she wants to be done, it is true. So kind of the bishop and the family of the bishop were saying, oh, maybe it's his imagination, it's a dream. They didn't believe him. But the bishop, because he came a second time, he sent the spies.
Oh, okay.
So he sent him back, or go on your way, find this sign. And he sent two spies, two men to follow him. So the bishop told them, be very close to him, follow him, and see where he goes. But Juan Diego went in his way, they followed him, but when he crossed a bridge, he disappeared from their sight.
Oh, wow.
They disappeared, or they didn't see him again. And he went to Our Lady, and Our Lady received him in a very nice way, always, of course, Our Lady. And he knelt down and with tears told Our Lady, they rejected me again, so they don't want to listen to me unless you give me a sign. And Our Lady told him, come back tomorrow. Okay, and then it was now December 11 when she told him, come back tomorrow. This was then Monday. And then Juan Diego went to his house, but he found out that his uncle, Juan Bernardino, since that everyone was called Juan, Juan Sumarga, the bishop, Juan Bernardino, Juan Diego, because Saint John the Evangelist was very famous. He's very famous.
Okay.
So he was sick with a fever called coccolistli. He was very sick. He got that fever because he was injured. Some legends said that he was injured by Cuauhtemoc. Cuauhtemoc was one of the latest emperors of Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Because
so like in the conquest.
Yes, because actually Cuauhtemoc was upset with Juan Bernardino because he converted to the Catholic faith. So he didn't convince him, he injured him, right? And he was not happy. And then Juan Bernardino, Juan Diego's uncle, he told him, go to Tlatelolco, to the church of Santo Santiago, St. James, and get me the priest because I'm dying. So I would like to have the extreme unction. And then this was Monday, and then Juan Diego went in his way to find the priest. But this time, it was now Tuesday, December 12, 1531, and Juan Diego, he had now a work to do to find the priest, and he went a different way because he didn't want to meet Our Lady again, because he thought, she will ask me questions, what happened, why I didn't show up, yesterday. If I see her again, she will send me another message to the bishop who doesn't listen to me. So he took a different path in the same hill, different path. Okay. But the point was to not lose time. He was worried about his uncle, but it was to no avail because Our Lady is Our Lady, and she found him. He appeared in any way he was walking. And then Our Lady came in that path and showed herself to him. And Juan Diego knelt down, of course, as humble he was, and Our Lady asked him, where are you going? What way have you taken today? And then Juan Diego told Our Lady, well, my uncle, my tío, my uncle is sick. I need to find a priest so he could receive the extreme unction. See, they were already very good Catholics.
Oh, wow, yeah.
They had all the Christian doctrine, so they knew what to do if somebody is sick, even that early. Right. Because the Spaniards were very good teaching the faith, the Catholic faith. And Our Lady told him, don't worry. She said, am I not here, I who am your mother? She said, no estoy aquí, who are your mother? With these words, she wanted to comfort him, reassurance to him that everything will be fine. She says, don't worry. and emphasizing that her presence and protection will be enough for him and his uncle Juan Bernardino. In the way Our Lady talked to him, kind of showed his anxieties about his heart, his sick uncle, and encouraged him to trust in her and her son. And actually, Our Lady told him, "Don't worry about your uncle." In other words, she said, he's fine. And Our Lady wanted to have his time so he could go again to the bishop, but this time she will give him the sign that the bishop asked him. And Our Lady, because now she came to him in the other way, she sent Juan Diego up to the hill where she appeared for first time. She told him, go up there among these rocks, very hilly there, rocky, and kind of December, it's kind of dry and brush and thorns more than bushes. And so go uphill and you will find roses. And then he found the roses, and she ordered him to cut a bunch of them, as many as he could hold in his tilma. The Indians wear some sort of a cloth on front of their body.
Oh.
They have the camisola, they have the shirt or long sleeves, and they wear this kind of cloth, like triangle cloth in front of them. Juan Diego went there and he was surprised to see all these beautiful roses that even have kind of water from heaven, where they're already water, and then all different colors, and as if it were the natural time for them. And he took as many roses he could hold in his tilma, and he was ordered by Our Lady to come back to her. And Our Lady, as she had Juan Diego in front of her, Our Lady with her beautiful hands hold all the roses up from the tilma and put them back on the tilma. And she told him, now go to the bishop and told him that this is my sign. As you are on your way, do not show anyone what you have in your tilma, in your regazo, in your body,
Right.
by your chest. Don't show it to anyone, and don't talk to anyone. You just go straight to the bishop. And of course, when he came to the house of the bishop where he lived, the relatives there at the door wanted to find out. They were obsessed to see what he had, because already the bishop asked him for a sign, so they knew that he would bring a sign.
Right.
So they were anxious to see what he had. They even pulled the tilma, the cloth from him, and they were able to see the roses a little bit, and they were surprised that what a beautiful roses. Probably they didn't think about much. It's December, it's cold. There's no time for roses in Mexico City, or at least in that area, right, where it's up at the hill.
Right.
And Juan Diego will hold with everything he could that tilma. He will not open it to them. And they let him in because he said, I have the sign from the Mother of God. Okay. And he was let come in into the room where the bishop was, and all his people associated with him, probably workers, or he was planning something. There were some families there, children too. And then he told to the bishop, I have the sign you asked from the Lady of Heaven. He told, okay, show me. And he opened his tilma, let it go down, roll down, and all the flowers went to the floor. Juan Diego was concentrating and seeing the roses.
Right.
When all the people in the room were not looking at the roses, were looking at the image that was on his tilma. Right. That seeing so many Indians before, they were surprised, this beautiful, well-done image on the cloth that he had.
Oh, right.
And then they saw that, and once they saw that, the bishop made an association of the image to what Juan Diego described the first time about the lady that he saw. Okay. So after 3 times going to the bishop, everything made sense. Everything was coordinated, that what he was saying was true.
Okay.
And then from that on, the bishop understood that this was a real message from heaven, from Our Lady. Right. To his surprise, because as a Spaniard, he only knew of the apparition of Our Lady of Pilar to St. James in Spain.
Oh, right.
It was very famous, probably in the 1st, 2nd century in Spain. They had that apparition, and the other apparitions, they were not very famous.
Right, and I mean, Fatima hadn't happened yet.
It haven't happened, or Lourdes,
Right.
or La Salette. So the bishop finally got to understood that this was a real message from heaven. So he kept the image in this house, in this palace, and then it was then that the bishop wanted to make his investigation. So he took Juan Diego to show him where he saw Our Lady for first time, second time, third time, and fourth time. And the fifth time was that Our Lady appeared to Juan Bernardino. Or not only Our Lady said, "Don't worry," but Our Lady went to visit Juan Bernardino to his place. And she cured him from this sickness that he was about to die.
Oh, wow.
And he had in his face, in his eyes, his mind, a very vivid image of Our Lady that by the time, a few days later, the bishop came to visit Juan Bernardino, because after Juan Diego showed the Tilma, the roses, and the image to the bishop, he asked permission to the bishop, but you know what, I need to go see my uncle, because he's still worried about him. You know?
Oh, okay.
He was of course surprised of this image of the roses, but he was worried about his uncle because of mission. He's Catholic, he knows that anyone dying needs to have sacraments.
Right.
And the bishop actually went with him to see what happened to his Juan Diego's uncle, because Our Lady told him, "Don't worry." So the bishop was concerned about it. So when they come to the room, to the house of his uncle, they found him all cured in nothing of what Juan Diego was describing about how sick he was. And then, of course, I think they will have them in different rooms and ask questions,
Right.
In a different ways, and they match. So the bishop have, proof that this was an image from heaven. And then from that on, many Mexicans start having a veneration to Our Lady. And Our Lady actually, it is recorded that, or what I read, or the sources, that she says to call her Santa Maria de Guadalupe.
Okay. What is Guadalupe, what did it mean at that point in Mexico? Like, what was Guadalupe?
Well, there's many different descriptions about Guadalupe. There are different sources. The writer I know, is that he could not explain why Our Lady called herself Our Lady of Guadalupe. But there is actually in Extremadura, in Spain, where Hernán Cortés, El Conquistador, was born, there is an image similar, or an image that is of dark skin, that is called Guadalupe. It's Extremadura, it's a place in Spain where Hernán Cortés was born. And last time it was only one time in Spain. I went to Toledo, to the Cathedral of Spain of Toledo, and I saw first time they have a little image, or little statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe from Extremadura.
So there weren't already, it wasn't already the name of a city or hill or mountain or anything?
No,
that?
no, this is the name of this Our Lady. And supposedly this image in Spain was called Our Lady of Guadalupe because there is a river that is called Guadalupe.
Oh, okay. And
usually in Spain, people will call people with the last names because of the place, like Santa Teresa of Avila.
Okay.
Or St. Peter of Alcantara, from Alcantara.
Sure.
And so the Spaniards will have these names. Until Queen Isabel, that she organized the last names to call people the sons of, the children, or they started with the last names, not just to call people from where they were or they were born, like Jesus of Nazareth.
Right. Yeah.
And then, and then that's the story, or the miraculous apparition of Our Lady in a nutshell. Because the conversations were a little longer between Juan Diego. It's not a saint, so as Mexican, I'm getting used to say kind of almost son Juan Diego, but JP2 I think canonized him. We don't like him to have canonized him.
Right. So, can you kind of describe what the effect of this apparition was on Catholicism in Mexico? I imagine it was explosive. there were a lot of more converts because the tilma has a lot of significance for the Indians, right? They understood a lot of what it meant.
Well, let me go back to history. Hernán Cortés, it's very important to check with Hernán Cortés what he did. If we check the details of his travels through Mexico, it's like a miraculous work done from heaven. Even Colón coming from Spain, all that being so long in the ocean, and after 30 days came to land. There was a first expedition from Cuba. The Spaniards came to America, but the first really establishment they had was in Cuba, and a very strong establishment there with a government, and people already, the children were born there. So there was the governor there was Diego Velázquez. He wanted to evangelize or discover or populate the Americas, or keep discovering, and he sent Grijalva in the year 1517, 18, and they went a little bit to the Gulf of Mexico, and then they came back to Cuba with some losses. And then Diego Velázquez, the governor, wanted to keep going or discover. So this time he selected Hernán Cortés later on, 1518. And then Hernán Cortés got himself with 3 ships and people. He got himself 800 people to go in this mission. Hernán Cortés, besides what we hear about him, he was a devout Catholic. He had a devotion to Our Lady. And he got a very good understanding of the Catholic faith. Although we don't have a video here, but we have audio only. But I will show you this image. Maybe you saw this before. This is an image that Hernán Cortés carried, that he left from Cuba with this image. So, and he said these words in Latin to his companions. Amici sequamur crucem, et si nos fidem habemus, vere in hoc signo vincemus.
Right.
So he had this image of Our Lady holding with her hands folded with many stars. He left with this motto, like, if we follow the cross and we're friends of the cross, we will have victory in our travels.
Right.
So I'm showing this to you because as he went through Mexico, the Indians were seeing this image of Our Lady. So as soon as he went through the first populated place near to Veracruz, he established this image, other images that he had with him. And as he went in his way to Mexico City, he wanted to find out where was the main populated city. He wanted, as soon as he found it, places, he wanted to go there. And he heard about Mexico City being the greatest city in this place. So he went there. So he would be leaving images of Our Lady. Besides, he was carrying this image of Our Lady. So the Mexicans, or like the Mayans, or the leftover, the Mayans in Veracruz, and the other Tlaxcaltecas and Cholulas and all these towns that he was going on, they saw this image and he left her there.
Oh, okay.
When I went to Spain, I wanted to find out images of Our Lady that were done in the 15th century. And there are many. I went to the El Museo El Prado in Spain, and there were all kind of images, different ways and different, even from the Middle Ages. So the Spaniards already have this great production of images of Our Lady in many different ways and styles, and artists by different artists that they were very familiar with images. And I'm sure they have dozens of images that Cortés left in every place that he went through.
Sure.
So by the time he came to Mexico City, the Aztecs, the Indians, were very familiar that the Spaniards have a lady.
Oh, okay.
And when Our Lady Guadalupe came to appear to them, as I said at the beginning, it was 10 years after. She's the queen,
Right.
She will not appear just before the conquest, so she will not do the work of her son, or she will just come to show her protection to the Indians, because they, as humans, they needed protection and help, as always Our Lady did. And besides, they were already many of the Indians or the Aztecs were already converted to the faith. Of course, the image of Our Lady will have a great impact on them.
Okay.
Let us remember that the way of communication for the Aztecs, they were the most prolific in education, were through images, through codex. So, for example, as Cortez was coming, Moctezuma, the emperor of Mexico, he had spies at the Gulf of Mexico. So the spies saw these Spaniards coming, and the word of this arrival went immediately to Moctezuma.
Okay.
So he was aware that these Spaniards, these strange people coming from the east, and Moctezuma was sending back people to talk to Cortez to convince him to not come to Mexico City. And by Cortez, of course, as Spaniard, he wanted to have victory and a good name, and of course a little bit of gold. He kept going, and by the time Our Lady came, of course, he had a great impact, because in the way she showed up in her image, the Indians knew how to read the codices. They communicated to these images.
Sure.
And Our Lady showed herself in this image that was full of signals for them to read. They just have to see the image of Our Lady in order to understand who she was. Because, just to say a few things, the sun is behind Our Lady. The Aztecs, the Indians, they thought that the sun was the great God to them.
Oh, right, with all the human sacrifices and everything else.
They offered sacrifices to him, so they wanted to please him, And the moon is on the feet of Our Lady, as Our Lady conquered the moon, because the Aztecs were afraid that there were an eclipse, that the moon will cover the sun and that they will have no light. So they will do human sacrifices. At one point they did close to 30,000 human sacrifices in order to ask the sun to come back to them, to show them his light. And Our Lady, of course, he shows herself conquering or being the master or the queen of these signs from heaven. And she had this mantle, this cape that is kind of green-blue,
right,
that surrounded with a star, clothed by the stars of heaven. And the color of this mantle was only used by the emperors.
Oh, okay. So it was royal
indication. Juan Diego saw right away that she was a queen. She was an important person. And it's why he showed so many times reverence to her by kneeling down and crying to her and all of that. And Our Lady, we see the way she fixed her hair, or the way we see her hair is like divided.
Right, divided it down the middle.
Divided in the middle, meaning that she's a virgin. Because in the Aztec Codex, we see that married women were with fixed hair, no more the middle center, but in a different way to show that they were married. So all the women in the Aztec Empire will show they are married by the way they fix their hair.
Oh, okay.
And Our Lady has her hands folded in prayer to show that she's a divine person from heaven, celestial. She's submitted to the mother, to God. She's the mother of God, but she's submitted to God, in the way she's praying. And also she has a cord to show that she's pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And if this, in her white mantle inside her actual dress, we see so many signals, so many like a flowers pointing up.
Like gold flowers,
Yes.
flowery designs.
Yeah, pointing up, pointing especially towards that she's with child. And in the very center, we see four flower, four sides, so four petals.
Four petals. Oh,
yes,
okay.
showing that she's the mother of the queen of the universe, because that flower points the four cardinal points.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yes, and then on the bottom we see like an angel. It is the angel's head. His hair looks kind of an old man, but a baby face, but still is an angel, showing that he's learned, he has experience, because every Aztec emperor have messengers. So the queens of the Aztec empire, they have messengers. They were called aquilas, like aguilas. So Our Lady is showing herself that she has messengers, servants, or not as servants as slaves, but that she's the queen and she has servants. And the stars signified the constellation of that day.
So they aren't just randomly spaced. They actually are like a map of the sky.
Yes.
Wow.
But the interesting thing, Justin, is that Cortez, when he came, Moctezuma thought that he was the man he was waiting from the east, because there was a man or a god or idol or something they thought like something to venerate, to adore, Quetzalcoatl.
No.
He disappeared many years ago, and they were waiting for him, that he will come back as an experienced man, a wise man, and they were waiting for him from the east.
Oh,
So when they saw Cortez coming,
Jeez.
white skin or like Pedro de Alvarado, one of his lieutenants, was very tall, very nice looking guy with blonde hair. They saw that these were sent by Quetzalcoatl, or Quetzalcoatl himself. Is why Cortez came all the way to Moctezuma's palace and made Moctezuma his subject in his palace, because Moctezuma actually submitted to Cortez.
Wow.
He was kidnapped or captured in his own palace, and they saw the power that Cortez had, especially with the army that he has, 800, and how good they were for fighting, in war. They have ammunition, they got gunpowder, they have horses, they have knowledge in war. That they actually made it all the way there with the help of some Indians. The Indians, they were already upset with the Aztecs. The Indians all around Mexico, they weren't happy with the Aztecs, and some Indians joined Cortez to actually conquer the Aztecs. After the conquest, all the Indians saw how much power Cortez had. After, he conquered the Aztec Empire, but they were very surprised, because Cortez, he sent letters to the king in Spain asking for religious men to come now to evangelize this country, because he had two priests, Father Olmedo and Juan Diaz, a priest Juan Diaz. They were not enough to evangelize, to give doctrine to all these converts to the faith, because they were converts to the faith because of the great things that Cortez was doing, the two priests, and actually many soldiers, when they saw how things happened after the conquest, the soldiers left the army and turned themselves into the religious men, because they were amazed how this could be possible, how only 800 people will conquer many times 20,000 armies, an army of 10 to 20,000, 30,000. Even Moctezuma were sending like 50,000 people to stop them from coming to Mexico. The Spaniards themselves could not believe how could this be possible. So some of them turned themselves into the religious life. Then the amazing thing is when finally those religious men that Cortez asked from the king in Spain, they came, and these were 12 Franciscans. And Cortés asked for them, they came, and once they were in front of him, Cortés knelt down before them.
Oh, wow. Barefoot Franciscans.
Yeah, he took the reverence to kneel down in front of them, and he kissed the cord, that cincture that Franciscan white cord they had, and then he kissed the one was ahead of them, and the priest or the Franciscan showed him, also reverence for having done that. But the thing is, when he did that, he was surrounded by these Aztec principles of the city.
Okay.
So all these Indians, we call it caciques, all these head of the tribes, they saw Cortés doing that. They could not believe that being such a powerful man, he will do that in front of the Franciscans that came with no luggage, as our Lord says, don't take 2 tunics, even sandals, nothing. They carried nothing with them, and they were barefoot, and their habits were already kind of torn, probably or sweat after this voyage, voyage through the sea. Dusty, sweat, and probably very thin because there was not enough food. So that was the breaking point for the convert of many Mexicans to the Catholic faith. From that on, as even the soldiers, I say themselves, they converted now to be a religious man. They could not believe what they have done with the help of God. And then by the time Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared, it was to reinforce the Catholic faith, the doctrine, and in the Plaza of Las Tres Culturas is what the Spaniards put that in that way, to show that there was resistance. It's not that there was not resistance in many places. There were some, protesters, rioters. Always happens, even to these times. People are not happy with the government. So Cortés started showing how the government will be according to the crown, and according to how was done in Spain. So they show some resistance, and Our Lady apparition, miracle apparition, helped for them to finally stop with this resistance to the Catholic faith.
Right. So by taking the name of Guadalupe, she indicated that she was from Spain almost with Cortés and working with Cortés. So then they recognized all the symbolism and realized that, oh yeah, she's with the Spaniards. So we should work with her. Yes,
and of course, I think you already asked me, or why to come to Mexico. It is that devout Catholics want to go see Our Lady's image that is in Mexico City.
So where in Mexico City is the Tilma kept?
It is very close. It's part of Mexico City. It actually is very close from the airport. Flying to Mexico City or from downtown. It is. Our Lady asked for this church to be built, and it was built. A magnificent. It's a basilica, and the image was kept there until the Novus Ordo came. They built this ugly triangle, horrible, typical Novus Ordo church. It now is there, but before was in this old church, where you can see inside this church paintings of the process of the conquest, or how the Franciscans start with conversion. He says that in a day they would baptize 3,000 people.
Wow!
So to the point that the Franciscans baptized, and they need to have an assistant holding the hand so they could keep baptizing.
Oh, because their arm would get tired?
Yeah, tired. Wow. You never think about that. Get tired. I've done 3,000, so they were holding their hands, so they keep baptized. So you see those images there, and it's very near to Mexico City.
Right, and is that the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe, or does it have a different name?
That's the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Oh, okay.
And there is a smaller church up on the hill. So when you go to this Tepeyac area, it is nice. You probably need about a day to be there. You can go to different places where Juan Diego talk to Our Lady of the spots, the apparitions, and then you can spend some time praying, and you can see the wonders of the church. And also one wonder you want to see is that the church, the main church that is big and heavy, is actually sinking.
Oh, wow.
They try to stop the sinking, but last time I saw, there is a live streaming to see the basilica, and I saw the still is tilted and is sinking because, you know why?
No.
Because Mexico City was built on a lake.
Oh.
As I said, Juan Diego had to go close to the lake in order to go. They were these big avenues that the Aztecs, they wanted to build a city difficult to conquest on a lake. But Cortez drained the lake in order to conquest Mexico City. And the church mostly Mexico City is sinking, these big buildings. Some places you're walking in the street and you see some buildings 6 feet already going down.
Wow.
Very, very deep. So Our Lady is suffering that too. They try to stop the Cathedral of Mexico, which is a magnificent church. They did some hydraulics. They injected cement on the bottom. So they the Our Lady Guadalupe main church basilica in Tepeyac was closed for a while, and then so there are many things to see there, and you wanna. I mean, the main thing to go to Mexico City, you're a devout Catholic, is to see the shrine of Our Lady Guadalupe, and many other churches that the Spaniards built while they were there. Like the very day of the conquest, August 13, 1521, they built a church there, or they already had a church. Is San Hipólito is where they met. For finally with Cuauhtémoc, to have finally the ending of the war.
So what are the celebrations like for the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe on her feast day?
Well, the main celebration will be her coronation. It was done very often, and it was done by the bishops. It is to have a novena. Most people want to go visit the basilica in Mexico City. Some people from many different places in Mexico, they will take a journey there by walking. It will take few days, to go there, and they thought many years walked through the mountains, and they slept in the mountains, the wilderness, and then some people go without shoes, barefoot, and
like a pilgrimage.
Build pilgrimage. They will do a lot of penances as they went there, and when they reach to the basilica, they will come on their knees, walking to see Our Lady, and they will do that ahead of time, and also they will have high masses, and people will bring flowers, and they will help the poor. All the people will help the poor in the pilgrimage, and that will be done everywhere in Mexico, because every single town in Mexico has the church dedicated to the city or patron saint or Lady. Like in Guadalajara, in my hometown, there is a church dedicated, the cathedral, to the Assumption of a Lady. And nearby is the basilica to Our Lady Guadalupe.
Oh wow! So there's a church. There's at least 2 churches in every town.
It's not as big, Sometimes Our Lady Guadalupe is bigger. So if you travel through Mexico, you see this little town. Oh, there is a little town here showing up, and you see 2 churches. You see the bell towers, rising on top of the little houses, and one of them you will be certain is dedicated to Our Lady Guadalupe, and the other one is to the patron saint, to Saint Joseph, to Saint John the Baptist, or any other saint. And every church in every town, they will have the celebration as big as possible, or as close as the one is done in Mexico City.
So when is the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe?
The very feast day is December 12th.
Okay, so that's the date of when Juan Diego found the flowers, right?
When he came to the bishop, yes.
Right.
December 12th, and is when it was now authorized by the bishop. And then one important thing about is that the Aztecs, the Indians, all of them, even the Spaniards that were coming, they found themselves to have Our Lady as their protectors, because there were they, as a new founding city, there were so many sickness.
Right.
Even though when I read that from Jamaica it came a plague, the people accused they were the Spaniards because they were Europeans. They will have different viruses that Mexicans were not used to, but actually came from Jamaica. And maybe through the Spaniards or other Indians that came along, they spread this sickness, and many Aztecs died at the time Cortez was conquering them. But there were other plagues, that as it happens in Rome with San Lucius Gonzaga, it happens in Mexico. And then actually they will do a procession with Our Lady of Guadalupe around Mexico City to help them and stop this plague, the sickness, and happens that it stop. Is why there are also processions all through Mexico with Our Lady of Guadalupe, because it is what has been done, and they found that they have help from Our Lady in these situations. Also, when people see their towns or their main lake from where they get fresh water for the city is shrinking or is getting low, they bring Our Lady in procession around the town or the lake in order to pray for rain, and actually it happens. The lake gets full again.
Right.
I have seen that with our other names of Our Lady, other advocates' names to Our Lady. They bring her to procession, and actually the lake comes back.
Oh, sure.
And actually, this little town close where I live, they even built a statue of Our Lady of Zapopan. It's a lady that the Spaniards brought there too, and they brought it in procession to this lake. And now the people had no choice but to build a statue of Our Lady nearby, because they found that it rained after the procession. And the Spaniards and all the Mexicans there now, they had a great devotion. So these festivities went for 12 days or 9 days before and after. So there are millions of people that come every year to the Basilica of Lady Guadalupe.
Okay.
They come in every way possible they can to Mexico City from all over the place. I got to know people from my hometown, which is by car it takes 5-7 hours to go to Mexico City. From my hometown, people actually went walking, whatever time it takes them to go there.
Wow, that is true devotion. Wasn't there also a miracle that happened with the Tilma? I think it was during the communist revolution, where someone tried to use a bomb to destroy it, and there was like a heavy metal crucifix by the altar, and that was like bent in half, but then the Tilma, which was like right next to it, was perfectly intact. It wasn't damaged at all.
Yes, that will show the great devotion of Mexicans, how attached they are to Our Lady Guadalupe. It happens that the communists, as we heard things happening from 1917 with Our Lady Fatima, how Portugal was suffering from communism, and already with the war in Russia in 1917, the Bolshevik revolution. So everything was from Europe coming to America. And one of that was in Mexico, that we have this communist President Plutarco Elias Calles. When he took office, he wanted to finish with this religion, with these, he said different names, different words, that people were captured by this religion. Like there was a second government within Mexico, that was not possible, that we had to be nationals, loyal only to our flag, so you cannot be loyal to another flag like the Vatican. So he felt that it was not possible. He wanted to end with the Catholic faith. In his eagerness to establish the communist constitution of 1917, he decided He said that he was obliged to do that, but he decided, as bishops would not listen, he decided to close the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
I'm sure that was popular.
That was not popular. I mean, talking still because of the wars that the communists, the Freemasons have done against Mexico all from the beginning, all this time. So you don't do that to Mexicans. I'm trying to say there was peasants, the only thing they have to look for was Our Lady of Guadalupe feast day. Or, most Mexicans have an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe in their homes.
Sure.
And they always look forward to the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Besides, they have one church in every single town. So when Calles, this president, closed the church to Our Lady of Guadalupe, no, you don't do that to Mexicans. They were not happy. So they all got together and made a procession. They a manifestation that was not welcomed by the people. And in different towns they organized boycotts. They especially in my hometown, they organized the people and they tried to reach the whole country to not shop and not do any shopping for a few days, to let the president feel that if the economy is not good, he will have to take a different decision.
Right.
So they moved the president. He opened the basilica, but at the same time he started doing repression of these Catholics, and he got so mad that he started stopping priests from saying mass and baptizing marriages. So the bishops have no choice also but to go in exile, and priests they actually came to, it was south of the United States, I think it was Arizona. They even founded a seminary in the south of the United States for the clergy and new students to the priesthood to be trained to be Catholic priests, and they all have to hide. One of them was Father Miguel Pro. He was a priest in Mexico City. He was Jesuit. He just came from Europe. He was traveling to Russia and different places in Europe. So he finally came to Mexico. He was sick. He wanted to be with his family, and he came a little late or a little bit in the middle. Or when he came, he could not believe what was going on in Mexico. He was not surprised, but he could not believe. And then he started doing his apostolate, giving the sacraments to the people who were in need of the last sacraments and especially Holy Communion. So he will disguise himself to be able to go through the town, because you cannot go in cassock, you cannot go in any clergy attire, because you will be captured by the secret police in Mexico. They were secret police, so they know, they kind of find out where priests were and where were they doing mass or anything. And there were other people who were very eager to destroy Our Lady. And then at one point, a communist person came to the basilica, the main basilica of Our Lady, and placed a bomb.
Okay.
It was a considered powerful bomb, because when it exploded, there was not people nearby, but it did destroy mostly around the altar.
Okay.
And as you said, this cross, it was bronze, brass, good alliation of metal that was there hard. And it was not close to the bomb, but it was in the main altar, some point. That when the explosion happened, it bent it. They still have the cross in Mexico City, this in display, and the candlesticks and things around, they just blow up in pieces. It's not like destroyed to like was unrecognizable, the altar, but you can see the effects of the bomb. I mean, it was a homemade bomb.
Sure.
They didn't have the means to do great bombs, but homemade bomb that it did great damage. But the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe was intact. The glass was not smashed or the frame, so nothing to Our Lady of Guadalupe image happened to the frame. It was preserved from this evil act by the communists. So because there are people who were really pursuing the communist agenda to even destroy in that way Our Lady. And besides, they were killing priests and nuns and bishops. Right. It was a miraculous act, preservation of Our Lady, and a very horrible act by the communists.
Right. Well, I think that would be a very good example of why we should trust in Our Lady of Guadalupe. If she can protect from the bomb, she can keep us safe from everything else. Is that right, Father?
If it were not for Our Lady of Guadalupe, what would have happened to Mexico already after? The conquest of Mexico was good to end with the barbaric rule of the Aztecs and all the Indians. And it was the Spaniards that brought the faith and a better system of government, economics and culture, architecture, food, music, all of that. It came through Mexico from the Spaniards. And later on, the Mexicans there, they would produce their own music. There's Mexican Baroque, all of this beautiful music. Painters, musicians, nice work of art and music. And then it was for 300 years that this beautiful work of God in Mexico lasted 300 years until 1810, when the Freemasons came to Mexico to start destroying those beautiful 300 years. So that was 1810. So it was the independence of Mexico from Spain. And then it gave time for Freemasons like Benito Juarez to have the first constitution that will make a reform to the Catholic Church, where he confiscated all the goods from the church.
Oh, wow.
Churches and everything, land and schools, closer schools. So the church was almost left with nothing. But of course, this is divine institution. After even that, the church started growing again.
Sure.
And recovered the government, recovered everything as possible. And then, but the forces of evil will not stop against this work of God in Mexico. And as I now say, thanks to Our Lady, it recovered again. People have the churches, have their priests, have everything, their devotions, their processions, their piñatas, the parties, the food. And then again, in 1910, another effort to destroy what was recovered. So the communists now, they came up with the Constitution 1917.
Okay.
That was the Constitution, First was the other Constitution, 1855, and then Benito Juarez, he applied the Constitution. Now another Constitution, 1917, but Calles applied that Constitution, and then start again. Now this time was a bloody way against the Catholic faith. If it were not from the Catholic Church, Mexico will already disappear as they tried to start it. But it was the protection of Our Lady is why she came to Mexico to protect us, all Mexicans, and even the whole Latin America, even the United States. But the devil is not happy. That 1970 Constitution is still being applied in Mexico. They are doing some reforms. Now the current government in Mexico, they are trying to apply the Cuarta Transformación. So they tried already once with the independence, the Constitution 1821, another Constitution, Benito Juarez, that will be the second time, and then the Constitution 1917, and Calles, the Cristero, the Cristiada revolution, peasants against the government, and that was the third time. Now they want to do the fourth transformation to really, decapitate the Catholic Church, what is left. But Our Lady will not leave people's home. You go to Mexico still, like you go to places, websites that sell houses. You wanna buy a house in Mexico, you look houses, you will see all these houses have images of Our Lady of Guadalupe. it is why Our Lady will always protect Mexico, and then she has done it. Otherwise, they were not priests. I mean, there are vocations still coming from Mexico. Mexico have a seminary. There are some priests there. The Catholic faith is there. There's traditional Saavedra churches. There's full of people. I mean, it's a little bit as could be, but still the faith is there.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Father, and hopefully everything we've talked about here will encourage people to think about taking a trip to Mexico City to visit Our Lady of Guadalupe's Basilica. Are there any final thoughts you would like to leave our listeners with before we close today?
Yes, it would be a good idea to go see Our Lady of Guadalupe Shrine and other churches around, and especially to see the magnificent history that we have there, and because there is a lot to see, and the wonders of the conquest, and how God has worked there in such a different way that what he has done in Europe, or like in Rome or France or Spain, is completely different. And as I talk to different people, they are still wondering how it's possible that this happened in Mexico, and they are interested in coming and see by themselves, take a trip. Right. And then last time I checked, Mexico City is booming with visitors from all over the world, like Italy, France, or Tokyo, these places. But here in Mexico, you got to see the work of Our Lady of Guadalupe and the work of God and the conquest of Mexico, and how the Catholic life is different in Mexico.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Father, and